Welcome to third standard science class study session. Today we are going to learn about animals' life. In this heading, we learn today the food chain and food web. Let us go into the session.
In this session, we learn about animals' life. In this heading, we learn today food chain and food web, part 1. Three different types of animal exist. They are herbivorous, omnivorous, and carnivorous. Herbivorous are animals that eat only plants. Carnivorous are animals that eat only meat. Omnivorous are animals that eat both plants and meat. What are the 5 basic needs of animals? The 5 basic needs of all animals are sunlight, water, air, food, and habitat. Sunlight is the fundamental source of energy on earth. In order to survive, all living things need air, water, and food. Animals obtain their food from plants and other animals, which provide them with the energy they need to move and grow. An animal's home, that is a habitat, must provide these basic needs: air, water, and food, along with shelter from bad weather and predators. In this session, we learn one new term, that is ecosystem. What is an ecosystem? The simplest definition of an ecosystem is that it is a community or group of living organisms that live in and interact with each other in the specific environment. An ecosystem is the community of the living organism in conjunction with the non-living components of their environment interacting as a system. These biotic and abiotic components are linked together through nutrient cycle and energy flows. Here, the living organisms are called as the biotic components, and non-living things is called as abiotic components. There are different types of ecosystem. They are terrestrial ecosystem, which means a land forest ecosystem, grassland ecosystem, desert ecosystem, freshwater ecosystem, marine ecosystem. Which ecosystem do we live in? We live in a terrestrial ecosystem. This is the ecosystem where organisms interact on landforms. Examples of terrestrial ecosystem include tropical rainforest, desert, grassland, and temperate deciduous forest. Also call it as the terrestrial ecosystem. In this ecosystem, we see the two components. They are biotic and abiotic components. What include the biotic components? Here you see the picture. Plants, animals, birds, as well as the microorganisms, they all come under the biotic components of an ecosystem. Do you know, children, who among us them can prepare their own food? Yes, plants can prepare their own food. Other organisms acquire food from either plants or other living organisms. We also classify the biotic components into 3 headings. They are producer, consumers, and decomposers. Producers are also called autotrophs, consumers are called heterotrophs, and decomposers are called retues. Here, the plants are called as the producer because they themselves have to prepare their own food. Consumers is also called as heterotrophs. It's further classified as primary consumers, secondary consumers, and tertiary consumers. Primary consumer, which refer to the herbivores, that are plant-eating animals. The secondary consumer, which will refer as the primary carnivores, and the tertiary consumer, which refers to the secondary carnivores. Children, we all know that food is one of our basic needs. A food is something that provides nutrients. Nutrients are substances that provide energy for activity, growth in all functions of the body, such as breathing, digesting food, and keeping warm, materials for the growth and repair of the body, and for keeping the immune system healthy. Not only human, all living organisms eat food because it provides the fundamental types of material required for our body. Now we are going to learn about food chain. Food chain in ecology, the sequence of transfer of matter and energy in the form of food from organism to organism. Food chain intertwine locally into food web because most organisms consume more than one type of animals or plants. Plants which convert solar energy to food by photosynthesis or the primary food source. In this food chain, you see grass is a primary producer. Then the second one, we see the grasshopper. It's called as a primary consumer. It is eaten by a frog. It is considered as the secondary consumer. The frog, it is eaten by a snake. It is called as the tertiary consumer. Then the snake eaten by an eagle, it is called as the final consumer. Then after the death of an eagle, it will decompose by the decomposers. In this food chain, you see different organisms. They depend on others for their food. This we call it as the food chain.
I hope you got clear information about food chain and food web. Thank you, students. Have a nice day.